I'm so honored today to be here with Ben Rebeske from Corbeau Tech and Project Success Academy. And I'm also here with Jessica Thomas with Zenith Coaching and Consulting. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on with us today and talking with us. It's really, really nice to have you here. Can you tell us a little about who you are, what you do?
Sure. Well, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting
Yeah.
me. So I founded Zenith Coaching and Consulting, really because I felt there was a gap in some leadership opportunities for people to really step into their potential and to enjoy their success that they've created across the years. My background's in consulting. I've worked at big four firms and smaller firms. And before that, I was an operations director in higher education. Have had a lively career, I guess, before taking the plunge into creating my own company. And now I serve leaders and teams in project management and change management as well.
Very cool. Very cool. Very nice to talk to you today. I've been excited to get to know more about you because I know of you and I know of the things that you're doing, but I don't know you very well. So it's nice to be on with you.
Well, likewise. Thank you.
Yeah. Ben, Corbeau Tech and Project Success Academy were built around the idea that traditional project management is broken and that we've become a profession of quote unquote box checkers rather than outcome deliverers. Jessica, your work with Zenith focuses on helping performers move past success on paper to real fulfillment. So it doesn't matter who goes first, but what drew the two of you together and where did you realize your missions actually overlap?
Well, I can jump in. I was excited to meet Ben. We actually met at a Houston PMI chapter conference. And so our, passion about project management and people kind of came across when we were eating breakfast. And so we connected there. So I do remember that day. So it was impactful to meet Ben and learn what he's doing in the project management world. And so, yeah, I felt like things aligned in terms of our perspective on leadership and, as you mentioned, how project management is more than just checking the box. It's much grander than that. And so loved the conversation we had. And then it just grew from there.
Yeah, I
So if
remember
the
that.
breakfast wasn't good, the conversation was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, it's as good as a hotel breakfast. What is it? Breadline can be, I suppose. I do remember that vividly, actually, Jessica. That was quite a serendipity lightning strike. You sit down in these big PMI conferences and you never know who you might sit next to. And you just start talking about your day and some of the sessions you want to attend and things that you're learning, and you're trying to get to know people better. And I was just enamored with what Zenith stood for and what your vision was. And it was like, get out of my head. You're like, oh, I had to do my own thing. I'd done the big four. Consulting is broken. I want to bring real value, real results to folks. And I'm not saying that bigger companies don't or can't do that, but people are aching for that human connection in getting the result, because projects are as much about the journey as they are about the outcome. And I think you and I talk about the concept of bringing a conviction and a sense of ownership and even pride, dare I say, in what you do. I mean, if you're going to be working 40 hours a day, some of us 50 or 40 hours a week rather, and sometimes 50 hours a week with these team members, you might as well make it a fun journey and get it done right together as a unified group. And I really like that. That's what you brought. That lit me up. It was it made the scrambled eggs taste that much better.
Yeah, they were much tastier.
Right. Yeah.
And likewise, yeah. Yeah. I enjoy that. Actually, and that reminds me, that I think even the meaning behind the names of our companies were important and a topic of passion and conviction to how we feel about what the industry should look like. And so, yeah, so it's great to be here and in this journey with you guys.
Yeah. And I'll interject. I know we're going to explore not only our professional relationship and the way that we want to help an entire project management ecosystem achieve the next level. But I do want to say I've been delighted having the privilege of, since then, you and I have teamed up on a couple endeavors, both on the academy side to bring your experience and wisdom and insights to working professionals, but also, frankly, as a consulting delivery team. And I know that you have made some of our more prominent clients quite happy with what you bring in regards to high EQ, not just as one professional, but transforming the culture of the team members with whom you work. And I think sometimes the best teaching is just setting an example. And I've just really enjoyed being a team with you. It's been great.
Yeah, I've also through the networks, heard nothing but good things, Jessica. Again, that you just are just so kind and generous to everyone, and that you're just so good to work with. So anybody who's listening, definitely reach out and contact Jessica as well. I've heard nothing but good, so highly recommend.
You don't make me blush on a podcast.
It's
No,
okay.
I'm
We can.
really, no, it means a lot because it is something that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
And I do want to serve clients and, people. So it's, for me, even through the challenges and the exciting things, it's something that it's important to show up as the best I can for who needs help and who needs direction. We're all here to win in terms of like success and enjoying what we're building and the finish line and things like that. So yeah, so thank you for the compliments.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's talk a little bit about Project Success Academy talks about humanizing project management, which we're talking about here, which Jessica, you're an amazing example of that. The REACH framework explicitly includes habits as a pillar. And Jessica, from a high performance coaching lens, what are the habits or the mindsets that you see separating project leaders who burn out from those who consistently continue to deliver?
Yeah, this question. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, burnout is, I don't know if it's more prevalent than ever before just because of the nature of how we work, post pandemic and things like that. But the habits that I've noticed for those that can sustain their success and just their joy and their energy and their momentum really comes from like that individual or that leader knowing their values and how they show up, like knowing the type of leader they are. And that's either, from just knowing that how they communicate, knowing their values as a role model for teams, and knowing kind of their limits or their skills and their gifts. And all of that combined helps, actually create an environment where teams will support, each other, and the leaders show up and they are not going to, I guess, operate under this constant pressure to be perfect or to meet, kind of almost, sometimes they are extreme expectations where it may not even apply to the project, but there's an expectation. So those bold leaders are solid in who they are, and they can speak up and say, hey, you know what, let's talk about that expectation. Is there a different way we can work this? I'm seeing it's impacting the team in this way. It's impacting our outcomes. And so really, it's just, to me, I think that confidence that grows over time, that leaders are able to create a habit out of that. And then also, as projects, we've been on long projects, right? They can either be 3 months, they can be 2+ years, they can go longer than that. Throughout the entire journey, you have to celebrate those wins and just acknowledge progress, because otherwise it will always just feel like a hamster wheel. And so that's another habit that I think is overlooked or often not talked about. And so just acknowledging progress for yourself as a leader and those that you are leading is super important.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I pull on that thread a little bit, Jessica?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I value your perspective. So I know one of our larger clients, it's a big, really large ERP transformation, right? And that's a perfect example of a, 2.5 year cycle of transformation across multi-states, multiple jurisdictions, big process transformations, regulatory compliance, all of those things are touched. And so you're talking to multiple departments all the time. And I feel like even I get to interact with leaders, right? Steering committees and executive sponsors and even regulators and sometimes, where appropriate, the board members. And I think we all struggle with that habit. When do we stop and we pause and just, it's okay to, I'm going to say, look in the rearview mirror, like, wow, we've got a lot of road behind us. Can you tell me maybe specifically an example where you've done that? Because I'll be fully transparent. We haven't even had time to catch our breath, right? It's not rushing through like a blueprint phase, going into early design build because people want to prototype. And I get the sense of urgency. That's a lot of money, a lot high stakes, and a lot of people impacted. So how do I get us, all of us, me included, to just take a breath and invest in what you just Right.
Awesome question. Yeah, the hard part, right, is the tactical piece. Like, how do we do this in our day to day, right? When things are just blowing by. Yeah, so one, it can be a difficult thing to understand that it has a positive impact of doing this. So I think that's important to set the stage of this actually makes outcomes easier, more beneficial. And so one tactic that you can do is we all have weekly status calls, right? Or even more often or something.
Right.
So truly, yeah. So truly take, the top 5 minutes of the call and go around or at you as the leader, just shout out, "Hey, I saw last week we pushed through a few blockers. We got those cleared. And I just want to celebrate that work that went into that." And it's as simple as that. And that maybe took 30 seconds. And so what I like to challenge my coaching clients, as I'm also do leadership coaching, and this works for teams as well. But every day, just at the end of the day on a Post-it or just on your little type it up, whatever, just a win for each day. And it could be something as simple as like, I finished that document, the PCR or whatever it might be, finish this one thing. Or it could be as little as, wow, I got to eat my lunch today, right? I took time. Because we know those days where it's, you're nonstop back to back. And you're right, Ben, like, how do you actually take a moment to celebrate? But once you do, and you take those 30 seconds or a couple minutes to do that and reflect, if you do that every day, at the end of the week, you basically have 5 to 7 things to celebrate. And it just is progress. It doesn't mean things are done. It doesn't mean it's perfect. Lots of times your progress opens your eyes to something like, oh, let me go do this better, something different. You have a different type of solution. And so once you get into that habit, things just flow more easily, right? And so then going forward, taking a couple minutes at the kickoff of a status to do that with a team is like nothing. And it's the thing that motivates people and keeps the momentum going.
Yeah,
Thank you for
that's
that.
really, really beautiful. I love that because I'm going to piggyback on that a little bit. I'm really good about trying to do that with my team and to like leave them little gifts or, make sure that I'm like leaving a sticky note or sending a message, but I'm not so good about it with myself. So I like the idea of like putting a little note for myself. Hey, you actually did this, or like you ate lunch, or, you at least got some tortilla chips or whatever. But yeah, I like that because I think that I can excel better for other people more than I do for myself sometimes. And so I really like that advice. That's really, really good advice. So thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that.
of course.
All right. Let's talk about AI a little bit, if you guys are comfortable with that. Ben, the Crow's Nest is positioned as the world's first project success navigation app. So using AI to close what you call the project truth gap. As AI gets more capable, what do you think the project manager's job actually becomes, and what parts of the role should stay stubbornly human?
Stubbornly human. Oh, I love that. Well, I'm already stubbornly human enough for all three of us, I think.
Maybe that's why we put that question that way. I don't know.
Yeah, right. So my dream had always been, I'm coming up on 30 years now, doing projects, programs, and even portfolio management, big transformations, enterprise-wide initiatives, and things like that. I just love the variety. I love the opportunity to be a custodian of helping with making change, hopefully for the better. And what it inspired over these years, working with some of my most trusted colleagues, was this concept of crow's nest, where we're in an exciting era now where AI is going to be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting that we used to do painstakingly as stubborn humans, looking at what if scenarios, going out and gathering as much information as we could across different parts of program integrations, complex transformations. I had to get stuff from tax and legal, but then also from HR and then the warehouse. And then you had to stay stubbornly human, make our people in a place of wellness and awareness and frustration. Are they following process? Are they safe? Do they even want to contribute, or are they, an antagonist to transformation because it's going to upend their way of working that they've been doing for 20 years? And so we wanted to get technology to take all of that and get environmental factors like, where's the market at, supply chain information, known organizational information, calendar information, all of the fundamentals that we as project managers in the past have traditionally like, man, I got to build a PowerPoint deck and I got to go talk to these stakeholders and I got to nudge people to get more status again. All of that stuff, more and more of it now could be automated. And then you put it in a blender and what do you do with it? We used to, if we had any time at all, we'd be lucky enough to get a status report out every Friday in time for the big Monday executive meeting where, heaven willing, we look in the rearview mirror and celebrate. Rarely did that, right? And we're just, everything's red. And all we're looking at is like driving a car looking down, right? We rarely had time to look out to the road ahead, much less think, oh, do I have time for a pit stop? Or is there a shortcut that we didn't realize that we could take? Or is there a way to save fuel, right? Is there traffic ahead? Is there an alternative way to approach this? So we wanted to get all that information and then tell a story with it. And with technology now having the opportunity to agentically, through some effort, start to do all of the mechanical things we used to have to do, I can now spend another part of my day being sort of what I call the executive's best friend. And I think this is where the stubbornly human thing is going to be really great. What if as project managers, we're instead project practitioners focused on success, not just the outcomes and the mechanics and the action items and the red, yellow, green status. What if mechanically that was all taken care of and you come in the morning the same way when you wake up and you say, Alexa, what's the news today? What's the weather today? What's my calendar? What if you came in every day to, here's your status that we gathered across the board because people are using Monday, Asana, Jira, and we just gobbled it all up into not just that where are we today report, but where are we trending, up or down? And then project manager, project success practitioner, what do you want to do? What if scenarios? Do you want to clarify in conversations? Do you need to update your risk log? Do you need to have a team huddle? Are you going to bring stuff to the daily stand-up? Instead, I'm coming in informed rather than, oh, I got a busy day today. I got to go out and get information. Now, that gives me the ability to be more human because I can be a critical thinker. I can be a creative problem solver. I'm actually building relationships around, hey, can you help me, Jessica, solve this problem? I see this on your team's Asana. Are you guys going to miss next week's milestone? And she'd be like, oh, actually, that's right. Yes, because two of us are on vacation. Whatever, but we can start to come up with creative ways to solve the problem. And even more than that, I can come to team members and say, hey, data team, you didn't know this. This isn't your fault. I need you to switch tack here and focus on front loading a new mock run because we're going to stand up a new test environment. I've got some new testers coming in at the offsite location in 2 weeks. You didn't know that, my fault, but at an integration level, is there any way that we could juggle the pieces so that we can make that milestone so I don't have 10 new people kind of twiddling their thumbs on their first day of work going, where's my data, right? Instead of getting there 2 weeks later, or even 2 days before saying, sorry, data team, I forgot to tell you, work the weekend and get it done. Now technology is going to allow me to bring a story and collaborate with my leaders rather than, I mean, I could see Jessica every time I used to call her, oh, Ben's calling again. I bet it's about status, right? You don't want that relationship. You want to be teammate. And that's the stubbornly human part. Can you be an executive's best friend? Can you be a teammate? Can you be a contributor rather than someone who's just kind of trying to just hold things together by always asking, why are you red? What can we do? What's your status? We're getting away from mechanics and we're becoming creative, divergent, out of the box thinkers with our teammates. That's my perspective on why AI is so amazing right now. Like, take care of the mechanics and free me up to be part of the team. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. And Jessica, I'd like for you to kind of speak to that as well. How is the AI tool? How are the AI tools helping with the work that you do with different companies?
Yeah. No, I mean, exactly what Ben was talking about. It's taking away what I'll call like the admin or the tactical literal work. And it's enabling, me, frankly, to be more strategic or a connector where, we can actually connect the people and help people connect dots in the work that we're doing. And so I think it really is letting us have more time to focus on the things that actually matter when we think of people, when we think of projects, and when we think of the end of the road where it's complete, what's made it successful or not. I focus a lot on transformation and change management, and it really comes down to the people and the adoption. And so if you're a connector and you're able to have that time throughout the project early, you're able to kind of get that buy-in sooner than later. And it just makes such a different impact than if we were out there collecting the data and, bugging people, tapping people on shoulders. And because ultimately, as project managers, we don't want to be babysitters, right? We're there to make a strategic impact to the organization and help the individuals get over the finish line to success. So, yeah, I think it's such a good tool that we probably haven't even tapped the surface of the capabilities yet.
I agree. Yeah, I've been so blessed to be mentored by Ben and some other people and be pushed to do some things, and it has really given an opportunity for our smaller team to be able to serve our clients in such a totally different way than we were. And I'm so grateful to Ben for pushing us and giving us the opportunity to learn and to grow in that. I recently just completed, or our team completed, a project that the end of that project was my portion to do. And I could do it manually, like I've always done it for years and years and years. And it would have taken me probably 2 or 3 weeks, legitimately. It was done in like 5 minutes. And I was over like just screaming like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did it. So it was amazing because to speak to what you're saying, Jessica, it gave me the opportunity to spend more time with my family, with my team, to kind of map out, okay, what's the next steps? What can we do next? And so I would say, I don't even know if we talked about that yet, Ben, but I would say that was probably my first like massive AI win. That just really, I mean, we use a lot of AI tools, right? If you really look at it, like I was talking to Matt the other day and he's like, well, which tools? I'm like, well, there's really actually a lot. But for something that massive and that significant, that would have taken me weeks and weeks to do manually. And so, yeah, I think it gives us that opportunity to have more people time and to have that connection with others, including our own selves and our own family, because we're freeing up moments and hours that we didn't have before.
I think I love that. You're right. Freeing that time up to have that reflection. And also, I think one element of it is AI is not taking away any value. Like it's just adding so much value. Like the outcome is still the same, and you're getting more value because, like you just said, that time with family, that the ability to re-energize yourself, take a break when you need to, so you can just show up even stronger for the next action. So it's amazing.
And with your permission, team, I want to interject some recent real world examples and kind of stealing this from Jessica's playbook, because she's always doing the value add next to, I guess that's your org change management leadership awareness thing, right? We want to have high EQ. And so I've taken that idea and mobilized it, and something as simple as meeting notes. I mean, how many of us in the world like, oh, I got the transcript. And then sometimes even like Teams or Loop or something will auto send out, here's your action item. But do we ever bird dog them? There's probably reams of transcripts on our SharePoints and our hard drives and all that. Do we ever really get to them? So I created an agent a few weeks for some of my projects where it takes those transcripts and yes, it'll parse out the names of real names of people, their contact information and their action items or whatever. But more than that, then now that frees me up. Gosh, I can't tell you in my decades of being, how many hours have I spent typing up meeting notes? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And you're trying to get action items in 2 days, and then you got to put it in the project plan or spreadsheets and all that. That's all done. And so in 3 minutes, it's typed it up and it's got the list. But then I go level 2 with it. This is the stubbornly human part. If I was a concierge, right? When if you go up to the hotel concierge, is there a great place to dine? Yes, there is. Try this Italian restaurant. Cricket chirp. No, they call the restaurant for you, or they'll show you options on the menu. Like, do you like wine, or do you want like they engage with you? They make that request. They follow through on your requests as a concierge. So me throwing meeting notes at somebody with some action items is kind of like, hey, you got the meeting notes? Yep. That's not, I'll say that's not the Zenith way, right? That's not, take it to the next level, connect with the person. So what I do then, now I did that in 3 minutes. It used to take a full hour. Well, I got 55 minutes to be that executive's best friend or that team player. And I'll run it through AI. And I'm like, oh, well, bird dog this action item, do some research on this. Like, oh, that's a recurring one. Let's look at our meeting notes from last week. And I'll say, go give me an update on this. Give me the history. Check Jira. What are some existing tickets? And it actually finds them. It's cool. So if they bring up issues during a meeting, it'll go find the corresponding Jira issue and give like summary of the latest updates. And it'll put the hyperlink to that ticket. Now when I send the meeting notes, it's not here's the list. It's here's where I think we are. And I actually specifically think, Jessica, if you could just, is this issue ready to close? It turns out I looked it up, and if not, let me know how I can help, and just at me in the ticket. Like, I've evolved it to that concierge experience where you didn't just ask me, is there any Italian food? We talked it out. I gave you value. I gave you direction. I got the journey started. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm very grateful to, your coaching, Jessica, for that. I think that's the project success mindset. This is the exciting thing about being a project practitioner at this time. We don't have to just be meeting note takers or action item pushers. Back to the action item police. That's not. We're a contributor, a facilitator, a concierge. And I've gotten some very positive response from that. So that was my success story. I thought you should know. I don't know if I told you that.
I love that. I need your agent. I need that agent.
Oh, he'll teach you, and then
Yeah,
he'll call
that'll
you
be-
every day and ask you if you were doing it.
Yeah, I know. Amanda knows I'm always nudging. It's like, did you next level? Did
I
you
know,
next
but
level? Have you played
it's so
this?
worth
Have you
it.
tried co-work? Right?
It's kind
Yeah,
of like
exactly.
having a really good parent, not that you're old enough to be my parent, but it's kind of like, that the thing needs to be done, but you need somebody to
I'm the protective older brother.
there you go. That's much better. That's much better explanation. But Ben's been great. Honestly, it has been such a blessing to be able to be pushed in that direction and to be able to be told like, hey, this is good. Try this, try that, try this. And to have the freedom to do it. I think that's so important too. And we've talked about that in some other episodes as well, is to give your teams the freedom to learn these tools and to know how to use them and to use them safely and ethically. And that's very, very important, is that we give the opportunity to ourselves and to our team to have the space to learn. You got to learn it. It's just like anything else.
Agreed.
All right. So a lot of PMOs today are stuck in the compliance police role, and you both pushed back against, what does a modern value-driven PMO actually look like in practice? And what's the first thing the leader should change if their PMO is producing reports that nobody reads? So this kind of flows with what we've been talking about. So Jessica, I'll let you go first on that.
Perfect timing for that question. What we were just talking about, like modern PMO is about that engagement with people, not just the tactical, let's get the tracker done and make sure we're, on time, under budget. It's about, is this successful? Are people engaged? Are people excited about what we're doing here? Are they going to adopt? And I think PMO or PMs, and specifically, we're the people that stakeholders interact with the most often, I guess. It's not the sponsors, or it's not necessarily the C-suite, depending on the project, of course. But generally, we're involving all the stakeholders, and that's who we see day to day. And so going forward, and I think what makes it modern and where the shift comes in is that PMs are that face of the project. They are the leader that people look to, regardless of title, regardless of tasks and things like that. It always comes back to the project manager or that PMO team to say, hey, here's the direction. Here's the motivation for the day. And I say motivation because now that we're using AI to free up time, we can be that role model. We can come in, we can actually have that personal connection. Although it's, to me, historically, if we look back, people and engagement is not a new thing. But in today's world, it's almost like our modern day, it needs to take a step back to engage with people more. That's what a modern PMO to me looks like. It's more of a focus on individuals and the team, and really being able to kind of pull out the best of each team member. Because look, you don't want a group of high performers, you want a high performing team together. And I think that is where the project managers and the PMOs are going to have to modernize themselves to recognize that and take the action. And that's going to be a learning curve for a lot of people, and that's okay. But that's really what is going to take like anything in organizations and leaders to the next level.
Ben?
I want to piggyback on that thread a little bit. And this ties to, the end of your question about status reports that aren't getting read. It's all in the engagement. It's evolving what Jessica just talked about. And I think you can have, I'm going to pull on the talent strings. You're going to have particular people on your teams that are superstars or rock stars. And those are probably the people that we all know, right? They're already noodling around with Copilot at work, and they're playing around with Power Automate or agentic work. They're playing around with Claude Co-work or some of the more popular ones like Codex now. And they're going to be top performers as individuals. And the executives have a responsibility, in my mind, to nurture that, but also bring it up and say, great job. Jessica, I love what you're doing, or Ben, with automating meeting notes and taking it to the next level and bird dogging things so that they're leading to a next success, a next evolution to progress, rather than dumping things on people's laps. I like that you do that, and I like that you've automated it. Now, how do you get the team to do that? And you embolden them, and you empower them, and you even train them if necessary, if they're, a little nervous about their foothold in that capability or whatever, and you allow them to integrate as a team. So I think executives have a responsibility to invest that way. We talked about this, Amanda, you and I, before. There's two ways I think that I've seen the leaders in the market are treating the injection of all this great technology. One is cut your head count and automate what you can right now. Right. And to me, that's okay. You're going to sustain shareholder happiness and operational commitments, reduce headcount, all of that. Great. You made your quarterly numbers. And then there's people that I think, like Jessica's discussing, where there are leaders that are going to take the headcount they got. They're going to have a rougher quarter, but they're going to find those silos of talent, and they're going to invest in their training and their coaching and spend the money on that. Because if you have 5 outstanding people that know how to use these techs to get you the leverage, then they poured it to 5 more, who poured it to 25 more, et cetera. And then in 2 quarters, your operational costs, while not changing, you're going to see implications on efficiency, faster turnaround times, possible better marketing results, and things like that. So I like where you're at. I think there is a responsibility for leaders to nurture and identify those siloed folks. And if you don't like the reports, you're not reading them, challenge them to give you the reports you want, honestly. My 2 cents.
Yeah,
What do you think,
I
Jessica?
agree. I think too, I was sitting there thinking while you guys were both talking, isn't it kind of a strange place that we are in, that for so many years, all of us were kind of dove into the computer, right? Doing all this stuff, giving these reports out, creating this for next week and that for next week. And now we have this amazing and unique opportunity that now we're, like you said, Jessica, we're going back to humanism, which is, if you stand back and look at it, it's weird, right? It's so strange. And I think, like Ben said, and we've talked about this before, we're in this weird kind of situation where you do have a lot of these people who are like, oh, everybody's getting let go, and there's a panic, and it's, oh, we're going to lose our job. We're not going to know. I don't think that, not that we haven't seen it, right? We'll be honest about that. But I think what's more important, like we've talked about, is that we're learning these tools, we're growing just like we've learned the other things in the past. But then we embrace the fact, Jessica, like you said, that we get to have this human time, this interaction with people now that we really just haven't been able to have it for so long, because we've been so bogged down with 60-hour weeks or 80-hour weeks with our head in the computer, and we can't breathe and we can't take vacation because we don't have time. And now we have time if we learn how to use the tools. So Ben, I think what you're saying, about there's going to be an adjustment period, right? The numbers might go down for a little bit while we're training our teams and getting them ready to go, but the dividends are going to pay, multiple times over if we'll just let them learn how to do it. So great answers. All right, Jessica, what's the coaching gap that you see the most with PM leaders right now?
I think one thing that I've noticed is PMs think that they have to be the toughest one in the room, or, like, and I'll always remember this, and it's I don't agree with it, but this is what a PM told me, and it was a PM on a client side, and I was there. She said, if nobody's mad at me at the end of the day, I didn't do my job. And to me, that's obviously not the right way to be a PM. But I think that, I don't know what you want to call it, historically, or the culture, like, I don't know, old school culture around being a project manager, but being that toughest person. So that gap is like, usually comes from fear. Like, oh, I'm supposed to hold the line. I'm supposed to hold people accountable. I'm here just to report out. So again, making it modern, leveraging AI to open up time, so that way you can show up empathetically and effective and engaging with your teams. And so I see that, not as much as like before, but I think that just lends me to see there's also a sense of, I'm the PM and I'm in the checkbox kind of role. And so that gap to step into a strategic position, or like Ben says, like that partner with that executive, that friend, that's going to help them along is really the gap that's missing. And that's mostly just because of the role and how it's historically been.
Yeah.
And so once we kind of open up the opportunities for PMs to step up, or leaders are listening to the PMs in a different way, because it has to go both ways, right? We have to speak up as PMs and as leaders. Let's listen to our PMs and what they're sharing with us. I think those are kind of collectively the gap, if you will. I think fundamentally at the bottom of all that, that's kind of just back to the very first question that you asked about, what makes a good leader or a PM. And that's knowing your values, knowing who you are as a leader and having the confidence to show up in that way. I think that's what closes the gap.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Well done. Ben, you have anything on that one?
How could I top that?
And it was great.
Just nailed it. Fantastic.
All right.
I couldn't.
Go ahead.
I will say, like, a lot of this stuff too is, as you're saying, like, we're getting back to humanism. And so it's new to be able to engage with people in the way we want to, or the way we know will be effective and beneficial. And so there's going to be an uncomfortableness or a learning curve for people to experience this. So even celebrating wins, half the team might be like, what are we doing these first 2 minutes? It's going to feel awkward. But as those leaders that show up as role models, like, we show this is the way to do it. We feel comfortable doing it, and that'll come along. So that, not to say all this is easy to do. It's just
Sure.
We need to be able to be stepping into that space where people feel like, oh, let me take this, what feels like a risk in celebrating progress, or, communicating in a different way, communicate up, or that kind of thing. So
I love that. Yeah. And how strange it is that it's strange that we have to learn how to be human again. But I mean, if you really sit and think about it, that's so true right now, because we have all just kind of been in the trenches. I know for me, for many, many years, it's kind of how it's been, just we got to get the thing done. We got to get the thing done. And there's so many expectations. And I do feel like now that, again, and I've had the opportunity to kind of learn and had the opportunity to grow in some of these technologies, it's giving a sense of freedom and a sense of opportunity that we can have these more interactions with people and be more attuned to also like what's going on in their lives. Like, okay, well, if you're having a bad day or a week or whatever, let's figure it out. And we now have the ability and the time to do that a little bit better, I think, than we did before. And you got anything else?
Yeah, I actually agree that I think we're very close to being at this evolution of getting back to human, right? It basically, in an analogy, is I always say the paperwork gets taken care of. And it is a strange time. So I think there's two speed bumps, if you will, or learning curves that most people either think don't exist, won't exist, or they just ignore it. And this is totally an opinion piece. So I wouldn't mind you guys, you ladies poking holes in it. What I run into is the J curve, right? We're doing this where, and Amanda knows this because I'm challenging our Corbeau team members to really get going on the AI tool. We fail a lot. There's a lot of early waste, if you will, in experimentation, and then a tool comes and it goes. And then we have to find things that are stable and that we can adopt, while we're also having a little bit of higher expectations about, well, man, can't you just AI that? You should be able to get that email out the door in 2 minutes. Well, yes, my agent failed because there was this one exception, or couldn't resolve someone's email. Like, there's still a very human. So it's almost like I'm taking a new employee, right? We'll call him Claude. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Right.
And I'm training my buddy Claude, and he's like a sixth grader that's an intern. Very, very smart, but makes all kinds of mistakes and doesn't know the context and doesn't know culture. Oh my gosh, says some rude things. That guy, I'll tell you, Jessica, if you had time to coach him, he needs all the help he can get about a little EQ. But I'm finally where that fundamentals about when to get a transcript, never mess up some of the spelling of someone's name, stop guessing, only use facts. Like, I have to keep training and training and training and training it by fixing it each time and telling it to put that in memory. And then after about the seventh email or meeting note, it starts to figure it out. And then eventually, and I'm about there now, I have a job running, and then there's just a draft waiting in my inbox, and I skim it. Yep. Then that took 4 weeks together as buddy, and it's still going to make mistakes. It'll get a name wrong, or it'll misspell, a proprietary term or things like that, just like having an understudy or an intern. And I think where I'm going with this is, I think a lot of leaders think, can't you just AI it? Yes. After, and that's just me as a silo. Once I've siloed it, and then my leaders come in and they say, great job, Ben. You finally got it stable and regular. Now train the team and teach them how to get theirs to be trained. And so everybody's got this little J curve where you go in a little bit of a pit where there's extra energy spent down at the bottom until then it's automated. And then I'm freed up to part two, which is interacting in the humanity. And I'm like, I have a meeting. 5 seconds later, there's an email. It's perfect. I hit send and I'm like,
Now what do I do?
should I go talk to people? Like what, it's not that and I'm being obviously a little bit hyperbolic, but now you have an opportunity to know, to really invest. How can I spend this time to add value? How can I focus back on the relationships and why we do the things that we do? The other part that I've had, and this is just a random thought because it's me, I've had a lot of waste down in that J curve. I'll say, I think I want meeting notes, and then I'll read it. And I'm like, they're not going to do that. That's a waste of their time. I'm not even sending this. I need to call them and have a conversation. Like, there's waste from, not in a bad way, from I have an opportunity to fail a bunch of things and have throwaways that got me to a better idea and a better human interaction. Rather than what I used to do is I spend an hour typing something up and I think that's right. Send. And then they've got this to do this massive thing they have to untangle. Some big email from Ben, some status that they disagree with, or they're being accused of being status red and it's not their fault. Now I've done all that legwork ahead of time and I can kind of get through I can run iterations and I'm like, oh, if I was receiving that, that doesn't make sense. Let me do it again. Oh, that's a mess. Let's not, you know what? Forget it. I'm going to call them. Right. But I got there where before I would just throw things.
Yeah.
Catch this, right? Now it's an evolved. So when people think, oh, what are they talking about? More human. You are having more human, back to that concierge example, because I'm not just coming at you with knowing, I'm not talking at you. I need you to do this. I'm coming to collaborate with you and I've done my homework. And I think that's the second step, right?
I think that's where Jessica and Zenith are going to come in so much more to play though, right? Because you're going to have to teach some people who have been in the trenches for so long to have that EQ. We've all taken the courses, right? But I think it's different when you have somebody in there to teach you and to show you and to demonstrate to you and to live it in real life. And that's what you do. And it's so beautiful. I think that's so great. And so shout out to that. People should be reaching out to you, because I think that's kind of the next evolution of that, right? Is that we got to train our teams on the AI, but we also got to train them how to be human beings with each other and work in a team,
right?
And interact with one another in a good, kind, gracious way. Because this is new. It's so weird that it's new, but it's new.
Yeah. Well, it's finally opening up the ability to have more clarity in how you show up as, at work, as a leader, back at home. Like, you get the breath, you could come up for a breath of air, right?
Yeah.
And so from that, this opens up the opportunity to, again, get clear on how you want to show up and then the actions that you need to take, or the habits to build. And it also is impactful to the end result. And I think that's what people might be surprised once they dive into, well, how do I get more clear? Well, basically it can lead to, more confident decision making. And that's what we need in organizations. And so there's always something to take away and it's going to impact a result. And so, I love this stuff. So I'm honored I get to coach leaders and have the opportunity to do that with teams as well.
Well, we're honored that we get to do that alongside you in some things and collaborate on some things. So, all right, I know you're both crazy busy, even though you have all the AIs, but I want to ask you one last question before we go. If we had this same conversation 3 years from now in 2029, what's one thing about project management that you each hope would be fundamentally different, and one thing that you hope doesn't change at all? We'll give it to you first, Jessica.
Okay, let's see. So I think what I would love to see is and strategic is not a good enough word for it, but just a more strategic engagement with the project management groups. And because I think it can turn into an evolution of, this is an established piece of an organization. It's not just a one and done, here's a project. We have PMO and, leaders who run that. It's more of a thread through it. And I think an element of it that I think is very important, and I would like to see it today and hopefully soon, is the transformation and the change management aspect of it all, because we can do projects and run them successfully in and out, right? We can do that. But getting people on board is always the challenge, and getting leadership to support what needs to happen and to be those role models that the organization needs, frankly, to make these projects worthwhile long term. So I hope that was clear enough in terms of what it was. Vision it, but I think that's one thing that I would love to see. And then the thing that I would like to stay the same really is just this, I guess, ability and desire to grow things and to make things better. Not that things are bad. It's just, it's just more of let's make this, let's use AI, let's leverage the time, let's, kind of improve, I guess, growth. That constant commitment to growth, I think, is something that exists today, and it should exist forever.
100%. Yeah, I'm big on that pedestal as well. Ben, how about you?
I'm going to say something spicy that may get people to yell at me in the comments. And this is coming from someone who's been a project manager for 30 years. And I've been in PMI since 2004, right? So all my career. And I am a project manager through and through, volunteer, all of that. I think project management the term project manager will be a vestige. Let me give you an example. How many elevator operators do you know? Like the old concierge, the bellman that would hold the button, close the gate for you. Your floor, sir? How many jobs of that in the world exist? Probably a hand. They probably do exist, and probably for, very specific experiential reasons, not really practical reasons. You don't get paid a salary to operate an elevator. That is what I consider a vestige. Now, those operators have probably gone on to do other things and serve in different ways. But I think project manager, the role, I don't know that I like that term anymore, because I grew up in it. And it's the concept of the mechanics of understanding schedule and critical path and the PMBOK, and even to a degree within Agile, the disciplines of Scrum versus Kanban. Like it's knowing your lexicon, it's knowing your craft. But the concept of management, even though it says so in project management book of knowledge, it's not about managing or some semblance of control necessarily. I think it's going to be practitioner. I don't want somebody who's going to come in and tell me, do this, resolve this conflict. You can be very facilitative. The analogy I've used in the past is I can be an incredible cook, but that doesn't make me an amazing, Bobby Flay chef that owns a chain of restaurants. I think the future of project management is going to evolve to project success practitioners, right? And we're using an analogy, we're chefs instead of cooks, where we're just really good at the craft, but we're thinking one meal at a time. I think the future is going to be success practitioners, that the old term project management won't have the same meaning anymore. We might still call it project manager, and that's okay. But I think its role, like what Jessica said, it's going to be it's going to be 80% about communications, relationship, human behavioral transformation, impacts, resistance, struggle, creative problem solving. And then also a fraction of it will then be understanding the PMBOK. I know how to do RAID. I know how to do schedules and dependencies. I know how to do, I know how to do contract management and vendor management. Okay, great. But AI is going to do a lot of those mechanics. You instead be the critical thinker, facilitator, or problem solver. Are you always double checking that what you're doing has value and is achieving the real goal of what we're supposed to do? And are you working with your teammates? That would be the number one question. Are you working with your teammates? Are you working with your teammates? Management traditionally to me has been someone who gets stuff done through others. I think a practitioner is someone who gets stuff done with others. I think we're going to have a little bit more hands-on opportunity in our science, right? Rather than just being in some, I'm not saying everyone manages this way, but in some control tower, just watching what's happening and trying to control it. I think we're going to be in it because AI is going to do all the mechanics, and it's going to be a lot closer. Success will be owned. I'll have conviction about it. I'll care more about it. I'll build teams that care more about success. And people will have an opportunity to really focus on why we're doing it and how we're doing it as a group, rather than I came into work today, punched the clock, did the actions I was told to do, and maybe it resulted in something good, maybe it did. So I think it's going to change. We're going to change from managers to practitioners.
Thing too, and Jessica, you might have something to say about this as well. I think too, what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of the quote unquote bad managers weeded out, because it's not going to be tolerated as much now that we're more humanized, like we've been talking about, and we're more interacting the way that we should be, right? Then there's going to be some people as that might be able to be to say, or people don't want to hear that sometimes. But if you don't have your emotional intelligence in check, you might want to get it in check, because you might not be hanging around much longer, because people aren't going to tolerate it. And nor should they. And we all know we've had that manager, or, you know, that person on the team that just will not get along with anybody. And I don't think that's going to be as allowed as maybe it has been while we've all had our heads down and been in the trenches for a while.
EQ and just how you show up as a leader. And again, I always say leader because you're a leader in every right, not just by title, but every leader, the way they show up personally with people is the differentiator. Because AI is taking away they know how to do status reports really quickly. Well, no, AI does it faster and equally across the board. And so the thing that's going to set people apart are those people who can connect and who can kind of show that value add across the organization.
100%.
And really make the team individually and as a whole feel like, look at the value you're creating and what you're delivering. So yeah, exciting times ahead. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of old style, which we've seen some of that go away, but I don't think as much as we should have. But that kind of old style, like demanding, I'm in charge, I'm the leader, I'm the manager, that's going to have to go, because people are going to figure out that there is a better way. I don't think everybody's quite had the opportunity yet, because they've kind of been under that type of leadership for so long. They think it's normal when it's not. It's not how we should be leading. It's not how we should be on a team together. So yeah, I would even venture to say that future casting a little bit, you're probably going to see more people go out of the profession because they can't get their attitude together than because of AI. So, well, thank you guys for being on with me today and for talking a little bit. I know your time is very precious, both of you. And Jessica, we'll have your information below in the videos so people can contact you, and we hope that they do. Big corporations, small ones, but I hope that they will reach out to you and talk to you a little bit more about what you're doing and how you can help them and move this through this transition period that we're all in. So, and of course, always reach out to us at Corbeau and Project Success Academy. If you have training needs or PMO needs, anything like that, we're always happy to help in any way that we can in that fashion. So thank you guys. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I love the conversation.